Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast brought to you by BuckeyeHuddle.com. I am Marc Givler, joined by Kevin Noon today. It is our second emergency commitment podcast episode of the day here on Wednesday. First one, obviously, Lincoln Kienhold's committed to Ohio State quarterback out of South Dakota earlier today. That one was kind of expected to happen here in the next few days. Then a big bombshell here on Wednesday evening. Jeremiah Smith Jr., the top junior wide receiver in the country, class of 2024, five-star prospect, Chaminade Madonna High School in South Florida, big powerhouse program. Long-time Ohio State lean. Weren't sure when he was going to do this, but he has committed to Ohio State. There was talk about him doing it before the season. He kind of came out and said, "No, I'm going to take some visits." I know a lot of people around him were advising him to just, go through the process a little bit and make sure. He has done that. He's in the 2024 class now for the Buckeyes. Kevin, we've both seen a lot of him over the past year or so. How big is this one?
I mean, this one's huge. I mean, it continues that South Florida Express 7-on-7 team pipeline to Columbus. And Jeremiah, I mean, he's the number 2 player in the nation, according to one of the ranking services. So they now have number 1 in Dylan Raiola and number 2 in Jeremiah Smith. And, I could make an argument just based on what Jeremiah is at his position that he, at number 2 overall, he might be underranked. I mean, he's just a big-bodied guy who can run. He's just got a wide catch radius. You look at him and he's got, a baby face. I mean, he's still so young and he's already so accomplished with what his game is. And you just have to sit there and be thrilled if you're an Ohio State fan that he's going to be next in line and what promises to be a really strong 24 class when you look at the receiver out of Indiana and everything else that's going on there, that Ohio State is just going to just hit the rewind button and do it all over again with Brian Hartline and Keenan Bailey.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start here. Another huge recruiting win for Brian Hartline. First of all, I know the narrative is that Ohio State is never going to get elite players again because of NIL for some reason. But here we are. They're landing the nation's top receiver in the country. The pipelines continue to South Florida Express. They continue at Chaminade Madonna, which is just become an unbelievable program in the last several years. A school that's going to have more kids available to them here the next couple of years. They're going to want to recruit. It's huge on so many levels. I am not the hyperbole guy. That's usually somebody else. Anybody. I'm not Mr. Hyperbole. I'm generally more reserved in how I kind of describe players and how I kind of hype them, I guess, to a degree. I know there's so much hype out there right now with some of these kids, and I'm kind of the guy who comes in and says, "Oh, let's pump the brakes a little bit." But you could not build a better receiver than Jeremiah Smith. You just couldn't. He looks like Terrell Owens physically. I mean, he's just an absolute freak. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's gonna be a 6'3", 225 pound receiver. He's absolutely too big and strong for corners to match up with. He can run away from you. And this will sound ridiculous talking about a player like Terrell Owens, a Hall of Fame caliber player like Terrell Owens. But if you watch a guy like him throughout his career, he actually fought the ball quite a bit. I would not consider him a very natural pass catcher. Jeremiah Smith is a unbelievably natural pass catcher. We've both watched him. He's perfect, just soft hands, catches everything out in front of his body. I think there was a one-handed catch that he made, I don't know if it was the state finals, the state semifinals, floating around Twitter that was just out of this world along the sideline. He is far and away, to me, the best receiver prospect in the country, period. Not just in 2024, but you throw in 23, you throw in 25, and, I'm sure I haven't seen the guys in 26 yet, but there is not a better receiver prospect in the country. I think from a physical talent perspective, I think this is the best receiver prospect Ohio State's landed since I've been doing this. Will he have the career that, Marvin Harrison Jr. is about to have here with another year under his belt? I can't predict that. I can't predict injuries. I can't predict, any plethora of things that could happen that could disrupt that. But he is the total package, and he's not a diva. That's the craziest thing, is that the receiver position is so skewed towards the big personalities, and I got to have the ball, yelling and screaming at people, and just total, like, type A personalities. Jeremiah's pretty chill. He's pretty chill. He's an incredibly hard worker, but he doesn't come with some of this drama that you see with some of these 5-star receivers. And so I don't know what else I can say about him, Kevin, but I just, we saw him back in the spring together, and just kind of, you've seen a lot of these guys over the years as well. I know we've been on the road together a lot. You've also seen them separately. Then you've been able to watch them at Ohio State. Where does he stack up for you as far as like high school players that you've seen Ohio State land at this position?
I mean, we're looking at this class that Ohio State's going to be signing in a week, with Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate and Noah Rogers and Bryson Rogers. And, there's a debate amongst the experts on is it Ennis? I mean, there are some people who believe that maybe Noah Rogers may be the best receiver in that class. And then just to sit there and say, well, here's what Jeremiah Smith is able to do. And Jeremiah Smith is blessed with a body that most receivers just can't dream of. I mean, you can learn a lot of things. You can be born with a lot of things, but being born with just the size that he has, and you're right, he's 200 right now and skinny. He's easily going to fill into 220, 225 and not lose anything at that point. I've been going through, and the truth of the matter is that Ohio State receiver recruiting has just been kind of different as of late. I mean, you sit there and you saw guys that certainly develop, but let's remember, what position was Ted Ginn Jr. recruited at? He was a defensive back. I mean, so you can sit there and you look at, Ted Ginn Jr. and Anthony Gonzalez going back there. You can look at some of these guys that have come along. I mean, you can say, well, they got, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, what they're doing in the league, Michael Thomas. I mean, everybody was excited about Michael Thomas, but it took a minute for it to go from Michael Thomas, from where it was, where Keyshawn Johnson's nephew, Michael Thomas. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is going to come in with all the trappings of everything, and it's all well deserved. And you're right, because everybody's concerned. Well, now we know who leads. It's a South Florida recruitment. This isn't really truly that prototypical South Florida kid. He wanted to commit February, March, somewhere around there. South Florida Express was going to come up and make a trip to Columbus. I mean, I'd have to look at the calendar to make sure it was obviously during an evaluation type period where it was all right to do that. And, he got the advice to look around a little bit, but it never felt like this one was ever trending away. And, some people may say, well, if Miami ever gets their head out of there, or something, but, this is one that I know we're looking at a 2024 class that's pretty small at this point, but I'm not overly concerned about this one trending away.
Yeah, he's kind of got a different vibe to him, and he's handled this maturely. I think the immature thing would have been to commit to Ohio State 6 months ago, 10 months ago, and then, go around and have, second thoughts and make visits this fall and, get everyone riled up. But he listened to the advice that was given, and, let's take some visits. Let's focus on the junior season a little bit. And then let's, if you want to sit down at that point and commit, then fine. And sure enough, season's barely over for him, and he's in the class. Beyond just being maybe the best receiver prospect I've seen Ohio State land, which is saying a lot at this point. I don't know. I mean, pairing him with Dylan Raiola in the same class is almost unfair. They've had some great 1-2 punches. Obviously, you're gonna look back at anybody that came in with a CJ Stroud, and you're gonna look back at some other great receivers they've had, but I don't think they've put this. I mean, this is something of a 1-2 punch here, and it makes me kind of wonder what other impact this could have, not just in terms of luring maybe some running backs or maybe another receiver or two, but even like the offensive line. I would have to think this is going to give Ohio State a lot of clout nationally with their other offensive targets when you're coming in and you're playing with the number one quarterback and the number one receiver in your class. And you also have this recent history of sending quarterbacks and wide receivers into the first round of the draft. What are your thoughts on just kind of what the overall impact of this could be for their class?
Yeah, it's funny because when we follow recruiting, we talk about the fact that yes, everybody wants to go and win some rings. They want to win a natty, they want to win two natties, whatever. But you have to go and find the situation that fits you best. But Ohio State certainly is showing once again that it can go out and recruit elite offensive players. I mean, sitting 1-2 in the class of 24, and we know we've been in the game long enough. We know rankings change and evaluations happen and so on and so forth. And what's the chances that they're 1-2 when that class gets its final ranking? Probably pretty slim. It's just how it kind of works out. But there's no denying that these two players are special types of players, and they're going to be the players that a lot of recruiting fans are going to kind of forget about when we get into November of that recruiting cycle. Guys that if they would be committing 4 weeks before signing day, people would be losing their minds over it. But they've committed so early in the process that it's just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to take that for granted and go on. But yeah, I think that it's going to have a huge impact with a lot of players out there. I mean, once again, it's Ohio State planting a flag down in South Florida in the in Dade County and Broward County, and being able to recruit well down there, even if Florida State is on an uptick, even if Florida recruiting is on a bit of an uptick. And again, it certainly doesn't hurt for younger guys who are on the South Florida Express team. Ohio State's still going to be pursuing guys like Josiah Trader. I mean, I think there are going to be some ripple effects that can come from this on multiple levels.
Yeah, like I said, these guys are true elite prospects, both Rayola and Smith, but I'm gonna double down on this. Jeremiah Smith's the best receiver in the country, and I just I know it's easy in hindsight now. Oh, Marvin Harrison, and I get that, but as a junior, Marvin had accomplished a lot, but I don't know that he was quite the athletic marvel that Smith was as a junior in high school. It's just he is a freak among freaks. I mean, he's a top level everything. He's got size, speed, hands, maturity, route running. Just it's the total package, and I just think I think Ohio State fans are going to be excited about this one more so than they normally would be for an early commitment like this, where they kind of just like, oh yeah, we'll see. Signing day's a year away. I think this is one you get really fired up about, and I think it sticks. They've led for what 2 years now, a year and a half. I mean, since this thing really got started. So, I guess we can all relax, take a deep breath. NIL, transfer portal, Peach Bowl. Everyone's panicked and concerned about everything and negative outcomes and everything else. I think everyone can enjoy this one and be pretty confident in this sticking. But just an unbelievable pull for Ohio State, for Brian Hartline. Gosh, he's earning his paycheck, isn't he?
Yeah, and we'll see what that paycheck is now with the musical chairs at on the coaching staff, with Kevin Wilson moving on to Tulsa, Keenan Bailey moving into the tight end position. Do we see an OC title or a co-OC title going on with Brian Hartline? But we were at Ohio State earlier today, and a lot of we got to talk to some offensive players who were all very complimentary of Coach Keenan Bailey. And you got to remember, he's somebody down there from, the Lauderdale by the Sea area. And he is just such a force in that area, in that couple of county area. Now that he's going to be able to be out on the road on the regular as a member of the, the 10 assistant coaches. I mean, that's just going to be even more important right there. And something that is, a testament to the relationships that he builds as well.
Yep, he's a Broward County guy. That's where That's where Shaman Madonna is. Very, very well respected, very well liked down there. Let's real quickly, before we wrap this up, we have some video. I probably should have got to this a few minutes ago, but got talking about hyping kids up more than I normally do and went on my little tangent there. So we do have a little video if you're watching on YouTube. This is from earlier. This is against American Heritage, Brandon Ennis's team. This is a game sealing touchdown here. He just runs a slant, bounces off a guy, and then at 6'3", 200 pounds, runs past an entire secondary full of Division I prospects to the end zone. That's if I could encapsulate his talent in one play, it would be that play. That just unbelievable skill there. And the thing is, this wasn't even his best game. He had a fairly quiet game to that point. American Heritage did a really nice job kind of locking him down as best they could. And sure enough, though, you lower your guard for 1 minute with him, and he's off to the races, and the game's over. So that was a late touchdown there. That first clip was a late touchdown there to seal that win in maybe the biggest high school game of the regular season. That was something to be down there. So just full package there, total package, and a guy who. When paired with Dylan Raiola and some of the other targets they're in on now, this could be a very special recruiting class on offense. And I before anyone even says it in the comments or rolls their eyes at me, yes, I know they have to recruit defense too. I know they have one defensive commit right now. That'll be a different podcast, a different episode. We can all complain about that and how their needs in the secondary and everything else. But for now, a huge commitment, monster skill talent in this class already. I don't think the Ohio State program is going to collapse despite the Twitter rumors and conspiracy theorists and panic patrol, as I like to call them. So that'll do it for this episode. Let's see if we have another emergency episode. It's probably not. There's still some time left today. I don't know. Hopefully they start spacing this out a little bit. But we'll catch you guys later, and appreciate everyone watching and listening.